This is Mike Brennan here at the National Hurricane Center. It's just after 11 a.m. Eastern Time on Monday, August 5th, coming on with the latest on Tropical Storm Debby, which is moving inland across portions of North Florida. Debby made landfall around 7 a.m. this morning as a hurricane near Steinhatchee. It's currently located about 25 miles west of Lake City. And for many people, the impacts from Debby are only beginning. They are going to extend throughout the week across portions of the coastal southeastern U.S. We're still seeing dangerous conditions in the Big Bend region of Florida with a storm surge warning in effect, dangerous tropical storm force winds near the core of Debby, widespread power outages, and those conditions, especially the winds, but then also the heavy rainfall and storm surge, are going to extend northward along the southeast coast of the U.S. and linger later into this week. If we take a look at the radar, you can see the center of Debby here to between Tallahassee and Lake City, but you can see the large expansive rain shield with heavy rainfall now falling across much of southeastern Georgia into Savannah, moving now into Charleston, portions of coastal South Carolina. This rain shield is going to continue to expand northward and eastward through the next several days. If we look a little farther south, we're still seeing some of the trailing rain bands across much of the Florida peninsula. We're going to see a tornado threat develop and continue through the day today from portions of Florida up into Georgia and South Carolina. So let's first look at the overall forecast of Debby. We have a tropical storm, strong tropical storm still, with tropical storm conditions occurring across much of inland portions of northern Florida. We still have a tropical storm warning from the middle of Longboat Key up to Indian Pass, including the Tampa Bay region, and along the east coast from St. Augustine up to South Santee River, South Carolina. So that's where we're going to see those tropical storm conditions continue through the rest of today along the Florida Gulf Coast, and then begin to spread northward along the southeast coast from northeast Florida up into Georgia and South Carolina. Now, the thing that's going to change now is Debby this morning has been moving at around 10 miles per hour forward speed, but you can see once we get into tomorrow through Wednesday, Thursday, even into early Friday, the forward speed of Debby is going to slow down dramatically as the steering currents collapse. So we're going to see the center of the system just crawl along the southeast coast of the United States for 2 to 3 days. This is going to result in a prolonged extreme rainfall event with potential for catastrophic flooding across coastal portions of Georgia, South Carolina, even extending up into North Carolina. So first, let's talk about post-storm safety in the landfall area. We have widespread power outages, especially in the areas between Tallahassee and Gainesville. If you're going to be using a generator, please use your generator responsibly and the right way. We lose a lot of people after tropical storms and hurricanes to carbon monoxide poisoning from improper generator use. Make sure you vent the generator properly, use it far away from your home. You can lose your whole household full of people if that's used improperly. Let's take a look now at the storm surge forecast. We've got a storm surge warning that's still in effect for the west coast of Florida from the middle of Longboat Key through the Tampa Bay region, through the Big Bend up to Ocklawahnee River. We still have elevated water levels here, and the tide cycle is now coming back up. So we could still see the potential for 4 to 6 feet of inundation between Acilla River and Yankeetown, 3 to 5 feet down to Chassahowitzka, 2 to 4 feet down into the Tampa Bay region through this next high tide cycle. Then we'll start to see those water levels begin to gradually recede later today and into tonight. Along the southeast coast, we have a storm surge warning in effect from the Georgia coastline, from the mouth of the St. Mary's River up through southern and central South Carolina, including Charleston, up to South Santee River, with 2 to 4 feet of inundation expected somewhere within this warning area. And those water levels are going to start to rise tonight and into Tuesday. And with that slow motion of Debby, those water levels are going to stay elevated through multiple high tide cycles through the middle and even into the later portions of the week. So if you live in storm surge evacuation zones in these areas, please follow any advice you're given by your local officials. Now let's move on to the rainfall threat. We are expecting widespread rainfall totals of 10 to 20 inches from places across North Florida through coastal Georgia, coastal South Carolina, up into southeastern North Carolina. These dark shaded colors are 20 to 30 inch rainfall totals. We could see isolated amounts in excess of 30 inches in some of these locations. And this is rainfall all the way through Saturday morning. So we're going to see multiple days of heavy rainfall, record-breaking rainfall in some cases. So we want to try to put into context what 20 to 30 inches of rainfall means. So let's look day by day where that rainfall threat's going to develop. First, today through tomorrow morning, the highest risk is in near the landfall area, up through north central Florida, through southeast Georgia, places like Valdosta, Waycross, moving into Savannah, Beaufort, Hilton Head, Statesboro. And then on Tuesday into Wednesday, that threat's going to extend all the way from southeast Georgia, way across through the Savannah area, now including Charleston, up along the I-95 corridor in South Carolina to Orangeburg, Florence, up into Georgetown and Myrtle Beach. And then as we go from Wednesday into Thursday, we're going to see that high risk continue into Myrtle Beach and then extend up into southeastern North Carolina. So this is a level 4 out of 4 risk for excessive rainfall. We could see catastrophic flooding, water rescues, flooding in places where it doesn't usually occur. So what does it mean when you're going to have 15 to 25 inches of rain? This is not the kind of rainfall we're used to seeing in many places. You're going to see homes and businesses flooded. You're going to have evacuations and rescues out of flooded buildings. Flooded roads can make travel impossible and potential evacuations difficult as well. You're going to have roads that might erode from underneath, creating hidden dangers, so you don't want to be out driving in flooded areas. And locations that normally don't flood will be flooded in these types of events. So if you live in these areas, coastal northeast Florida up through coastal Georgia, coastal South Carolina, southeastern North Carolina, make sure you have multiple ways to get alerts, warning information over the next several days. This is going to be a very, very dangerous situation developing. The tornado threat I mentioned earlier, we have a tornado watch in effect, including areas like Tampa, Orlando, up through Jacksonville, all the way up through the Georgia coast. There will be the potential for tornadoes to develop in those outer rain bands today, through this afternoon, and into this evening as Debby continues to move slowly inland. So let's just wrap things up and hit those points again. The biggest threat from Debby is going to be the potentially historic heavy rainfall that's going to occur across southeast Georgia and the coastal plain and coastline of South Carolina through Saturday morning, likely resulting in areas of catastrophic flooding. We're also going to have considerable flooding impacts from central and north Florida all the way up through central and northeastern North Carolina through Saturday morning. Dangerous storm surge inundation will continue along portions of the Florida Gulf Coast and the warning area through this afternoon. And we're also going to see that storm surge inundation begin along portions of the southeast coast, Georgia and South Carolina, exacerbating the flooding associated with that heavy rainfall over the next several days. Tropical storm conditions will continue in the warning area along the Florida Gulf Coast, inland across portions of northeast Florida, southeast Georgia through today and tonight, and then spread northward along the southeast coast in those warning areas as well. So again, please hunker down, be safe through the next several days. For folks from Georgia up through South Carolina, North Carolina, the impacts from Debby are only just beginning today and will continue throughout the rest of this week. Check in for more information here at hurricanes.gov. You can get local information from your National Weather Service office at weather.gov. We'll be back with more updates throughout the event from here at the National Hurricane Center. I'm Mike Brennan.